ranking 100 Victorian books. And without further ado, let's just jump into the ranking. And this is going to be books 39 through 31. And coming in at number 39, and one that I definitely enjoyed a lot, is The Small House at Allington by Anthony Trollope. This is the 5th in his Barset series, and this just does have so many characters that you come to love. There's a few that you have met in other books, and so you're getting to see them in this. It's just glorious, you know, having a Victorian series. So you really have some longevity with some of the characters. But there's also some new ones, particularly these two sisters, Lily and is the other one Belle? It does not say. I think the other sister is named Belle. But I love the relationship between the two sisters, and they are kind of oil and water, very different personalities, and to see the steadfastness that especially one of the sisters has through a really hard season in her life is very awe-inspiring, and I love it. And also, can I just say a plug, not sponsored, for these Penguin Black Classics. I mean, look how floppy that is. I love it. So yes, definitely recommend The Small House at Allington. And then number 38 is The Law and the Lady by Wilkie Collins. I could not stop reading this once I picked it up. I read it in 3 days, and I would have read it in a day. If I could have just done nothing else, I would have. This is following Valeria, or is it Valeria? I always forget. A couple people in the comments told me back when I first talked about it. I think it's Valeria. Let's go with that. Woodville. She's a married woman, and she knows that her husband has a secret, and she wants to find out what it is. And he warns her, you're not going to want to find out this secret. She finds out the secret. And then it turns into a ripple effect, and all of these other things have to be uncovered, and she goes on this huge investigation to figure out more details about this secret. And I loved her character. Her husband, take him or leave him, you know? I wasn't really sure how I felt about him, but she is the one character that you're spending the majority of the book with, so I'm okay with that. Now, I will say, a little side note, I feel I should acknowledge, because whenever I talk about this book, I forget to acknowledge this. There is a character in here who is disabled, and it's kind of cringeworthy how he is portrayed in this. It's kind of like he is kind of hideous because of his disability, but also it's hard to separate, like, how much did Wilkie Collins portray him that way because of his disability and how much just he was going to portray him that way anyway. He is a fascinating character because he is multifaceted, so it's just kind of a little cringe and uncomfortable, and I just felt like I should put that out there so you kind of know that going in, so you will be prepared, because it's a hot mess, that section of the book. But I do still really recommend this. It is just twisty-turny and a wild ride. And definitely, if you want like a thriller, read The Law and the Lady. Okay, then we get to number 37, and that is Three Men in a Boat by Jerome K. Jerome, a comic novel. This does not feel what you think of as a, for people who don't like more domestic Victorian fiction, which I love, and think it's stuffy, read Three Men in a Boat. It is a hoot, as they say. It's so funny, and I love it. I love it. There's so many funny things that happen. There are 3 friends, and it doesn't say their names here, but the 3 friends decide to take a trip on the River Thames. And do they know how to sail? No, they don't, but they do not let this stop them. And then I think the tagline, which isn't on most of editions, is to say nothing of the dog. So there is a dog that joins them, and they're just kind of incompetent, and it makes for highly entertaining reading, and it is not very long at all. It is 185 pages is this edition, and I think so worth your time. Now, there is a sequel. I have not read the sequel. I want to read the sequel. I've heard it's not as good, but I still want to read it. I put it off for long enough, being worried that it wasn't good. I want to read it. Okay, then we get to, this is one that I really like. We're getting into the books that I really like now. This is fun. Okay, book 35, and that is Cranford by Elizabeth Gaskell. And I will show you, I just have to show you, Emilio from Infinite Text on Bookstagram was so lovely and sent me this book for Christmas a couple years ago. It is the Macmillan Collector's Editions? Macmillan Collector's Library. So firstly, I just want to show you the end pages. How sweet is that? And then look at this. Can you tell that's embossed? How pretty is that? And then it has a ribbon that it comes with, and it has the original illustrations. So I wish they had all of Elizabeth Gaskell's books in this, but I think it's just this in North and South so far. So I will keep an eye out because I think they are such sweet little additions. And I would love to have more of them in my life. Yeah, I would just love a full Gaskell set like this. So yes, Cranford. It is very much, it is a novel that it is little bits and bobs from this town, little snippets of life in this small town where the majority of the population are spinsters. And so they don't have a lot going on in their lives because, you know, they couldn't have a day job. So they just sit around, you know, visiting with each other, and there's going to be a lot of gossip and speculation about the other people living in this town. There is a bit of romance in here. It's very funny. It's very funny. There are some parts in here that are sad though. So I know I reread this 2 Victobers ago with Megan Hannett, and I remember being kind of like, I don't know if I like it as much this time for about the first half. And then there are some things that I'm like, oh yes, this is why I liked it. This is why I liked it so much. So I would definitely keep at it with it. And it's not much of an investment at all. It has 300 pages. And what is neat about this is that there are a couple other novellas that to me feel kind of connected because the BBC put them in a mini series. And so Mr. Harrison's Confessions is part of the like Cranford miniseries, even though it's not connected to this. It just makes me think of it. So yes, lots of charm in this. Okay, then we get to number 34, and that is The Moonstone by Wilkie Collins. I feel like The Moonstone is often overshadowed by The Woman in White, but I think this has a lot going for it. It is one of the first detective novels. There are so many books that people claim is the first detective novel that I don't know what to believe at this point, but I will just say it was one of the first. Sergeant Cuff is our inspector in this, and there is an iconic moonstone that is an inheritance of one of our main characters, Rachel, to be given to her on her, I think it's her 16th birthday. And so she has it out. Even though she has been requested by multiple people to not have this jewel out, it should be kept locked up. And then the morning after her birthday party, the gem is missing. So shocker. And what makes this book so fabulous, is that it is narrated by multiple characters, and it's fun to hear the voices of the different characters, and to kind of hear their perspective on what happened at this birthday party. And it does stretch a while after the birthday party for things to be finally brought into the open, you know, who is the guilty party. And I find Rachel to be a really fascinating character, multifaceted, and yes, this is definitely a great Wilkie Collins, and I highly recommend it. And then we get to number 33. So, Pain Train, you know, Tess was in a previous video. This is not as sad as Tess, Sylvia's Lovers by Elizabeth Gaskell, but it is very close. So this is set in the fictional town of Monkshaven, but it is based on Whitby, which, for those of you Dracula fans, Whitby will ring a bell. Gaskell was inspired to set a story here after she visited Whitby, and especially this is historical fiction. So it's set, Whitby was a whaling community at this time, and it's set during the Napoleonic Wars when there was press ganging that happened, which I did not know about press ganging prior to this, like, you know, forcefully taking men and enlisting them in the army. It's very jarring. You see it happen in a couple scenes, and it was just like, what is happening? But The reason that I loved this book so much, this to me is like Gaskell's version of Wuthering Heights, because the setting is such an integral part of the story. It is its own character. The writing in this is so beautiful. I underlined a fair chunk of passages in here. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And Sylvia is the main character, and there's kind of a love triangle that happens in this. This is not a happy book. So if you want a happy Gaskell, don't read this. But it's actually, I go back and forth whether it's, where it's ranked in my Gaskell, but I think I will stick with it ranked here. I think I definitely like it more than Cranford. The next Gaskell that's on the list, like I might like it more than that one. It just depends on the day, how I feel about it. I really was just so enamored with this when I first read it. I think it was my second Victober or my first Victober. Now I can't remember. But I really do recommend this. If you like kind of a very atmospheric Gothic setting, highly recommend. Okay, then we get to number 32, and that is A Welsh Witch by Raine. This is in on a technicality. The publication date of this is 1902, but I say it counts because that means it would have been written at least in 1901, if not earlier, if it took her a little while to publish this. This, to me, you know, the atmosphere in Sylvia's Lovers, same thing in A Welsh Witch. This kind of otherworldly feel to it, where the setting is so integral to the story and its own character. And it's this little sleepy Welsh town, and Catrin is, she is an outsider in this village, and there are rumors that she is a witch because of this deep connection that she has with the land. And knowing about places on the island that no one else knows about. And there's just a series of kind of chaotic things that happen in this, and you get to see the ripple effects that it has on the characters. And again, such a memorable scene in this towards the end that will always stay with me. And yes, so yeah, it says it parallels a superstitious fishing village and an early industrial community with its harsh working conditions, and explores the ways in which human resilience and empathy can make a romance of rough places. And that is the tagline, A Welsh Witch, a romance of rough places. So yes, if you want atmosphere, if you like Wuthering Heights, definitely read A Welsh Witch. And then number 31 is Scenes of Clerical Life by George Eliot. And there is one reason and one reason only why this is so high up, and that is Janet's repentance. There are 3 novellas in this. One I enjoyed a fair amount. The other one did not enjoy. Janet's repentance I loved. It is like the Elizabeth Gaskell story written by George Eliot. It is Cranford meets Tenant of Wildfell Hall. I love it. I love it to bits. It is higher than Silas Marner. I love Janet's Repentance, and I'm really hoping to get people to read Janet's Repentance with me that feel intimidated about George Eliot, because I know she can really intimidate people, and I think if you start small with her and take your time, you can find a new favorite author. And this, I think it's around 150 pages. You could try 150 pages of George Eliot, right? I really hope to get people to read Janet's Repentance with me. Yes, so very, very excited to reread it at some point. As soon as I was reading it, I thought, I can't wait to reread this. Oh, it's so good. And you're just following Janet living in this small, very insular town, and how she deals with kind of all of the expectations around her that people have. And it's very interesting, an interesting examination of faith, because George Eliot was not a person of faith herself, but she writes it very sympathetically, which speaks to her skill as a writer. And then we get to book number 30, which is a little book you may have heard of. I don't know, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. I love this book. I love it so much. I think pretty much everyone who's watching this video knows what this is about. Ebenezer Scrooge, who is a skinflint and a miser, is visited on Christmas Eve night by 3 ghosts, the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future, and he gets to see Christmas in all 3 states, past, present, and future, and it changes his life and changes him. And this is just such a little gem of a book. And there is so much to love about this. Every character in this book is interesting. Every single side character is interesting, let alone Ebenezer Scrooge is interesting. And just everything about this book, it feels inspired. There was something special happening when Dickens wrote this, and I will show you. I love this edition. Who is it published by? Stuart, Tabori, and Chang. Okay. Yeah, I've never heard of that. But the illustrations are by Everett Shin, and I'll just show you this. Mrs. Cratchit bringing out the plum pudding. Isn't that fabulous? Oh, I love it. So yes, high up here because I love it so much. All right, that is books 39 through 30. Thank you for watching, and I can't wait to continue on with this, and I'll be back with another video soon. Bye.